Can I be heard? Alright. What's up, YouTube? So, it's about a couple hours. The prelude is going to be dropping. I know if you watching this video, you probably watched a million other videos by now telling you what's the best build, what builds are trash, and telling you how to play the game, pretty much. I'm not here to do the exact same thing, but I'm here to share with you information from what I've been looking at and what I've been seeing and what I know about 2K from past 2Ks and from the gameplay that we've been watching. So this is pretty much my predictions for the top builds by position, and I'm separating into two categories based on the two main game modes, because for my career you can literally use any player build and dominate the game. It's my career, it's not hard. Even the Hall of Fame, that's just how the game is. It's designed for you to do good, unless they start teasing, but that's another story for another day. So let's just get right into it. The main marketing scheme of 2K nowadays is the Pro-Am. It's going to be the E-League, the esports mode. Everyone's going to be playing Pro-Am this year. So I made up a list of the top 5. I won't say top 5. I'll just say 5. Okay, so don't say the ordering you're going to see isn't going to matter so much as to which build I believe is the best, but I'll give you my 2 cents on every build that I do discuss. So first off, we're going to start off with the point guards, probably the most important position on the basketball court. And as you can see from the list, I got a defensive playmaker, which would be primary playmaker, secondary defense, pure playmaker, slashing playmaker, sharpshooting playmaker, and a playmaking sharpshooter. Now all these builds do very different things, but at the end of the day, they do all set the tone of the offense, as you are still the primary playmaker. So I feel like being a playmaker, primary or secondary, at the very least, is a must-have for Pro-Am, for your point guard. And little things about the defensive playmaker. Playmaker has always been the most well-rounded player build in 2K based on last year, and even looking at the attributes for this year. It is the most well-rounded. And all these positions do different things, of course. With pure playmaker, obviously the only way to get Hall of Fame, Pick and Roll Maestro, Hall of Fame Dimer. Two of the most important badges in the game. Although with the defensive playmaker, and with everyone focusing on offense really in the beginning of the game, I feel this build has the potential to not only set the tone of the offense, but also set the tone of your defense. So it works two ways, and I think that's going to probably be the best Pro-Am point guard build throughout the game's lifespan. But then you got to throw in the slashing point guard. Slashing playmaker allows you to drive and kick with good passing stats. You're still very fast. Probably, I think this is the attribute for the player build with the highest speed with the ball in the game. And then of course you got to have the sharpshooting playmaker and the playmaker sharpshooter for those point guards that want to be able to not only open teammates up through their passing, but also by spreading the floor. Another key aspect of a point guard. It has the best shooting of all the point guards, being that sharpshooter playmaking sharpshooter, but the sharpshooter playmaking also has a very reliable 3-ball. As long as you know your jump shot and you know your timing, you're pretty much set, and you can pretty much make threes with open threes, that is, with all 5 of these play builds, except maybe the playmaking slashing playmaker, but you still be able to hit a reasonable clip from the mid-range. Alright, next up we have the shooting guard position. Probably not as important, but the 5 builds that I would recommend for shooting guards in the Pro-Am are the pure sharpshooter build, the defensive sharpshooter build, the slashing sharpshooter, the sharpshooting playmaker, and a sharpshooting shot creator. I would only recommend the sharpshooting shot creator if you want a balanced sharpshooter on your team. It is the most sharp creators this year are very well-rounded, although in the Pro-Am with the spacing issues, it's never been an ideal position to have. So I personally wouldn't recommend it as point guard being a shot creator or shot creator shooting mid-range moving shots just because of the spacing in 2K isn't always the best, especially in the 5v5 setting. But back to the top of the list, pure sharpshooter explains itself. Hall of Fame catch and shoot, Hall of Fame limitless range, Hall of Fame deep range deadeye. The badges itself and the 3-point rating probably be in the 90s, 94, probably going to be the cap again. These are the position in this sense. These guys are mainly there to shoot threes, which is a must-have in the pro-am. You got to have a player that can shoot threes for you when you need them. With the game just being so focused on threes in 2K and in the NBA, this is a must-have to have a 3-point specialist on your team. Next up, we'll go to the small forwards. Again, you see the pure sharpshooter, a pure lockdown defender, a defensive sharpshooter, sharpshooting point forward, and a slashing sharpshooter. So again, with the pure sharpshooter, the Hall of Fame badges, you don't get limitless range, I believe, with the small forward build, but we'll see this very soon. The prelude is coming out in a couple of hours. And then the pure lockdown defender. I think it is just like how the pure lockdown defender slash defensive sharpshooter. Defense is going to be a must-have this year, I believe. Last year, everyone's defense was pretty subpar except lockdown defenders. They really took over the pro-am late in 2K17's lifespan. And with the way that archetypes are looking now, and a lot of guys focusing on the offensive end, having a defensive secondary, primary, or pure lockdown defender, it looks like it's something to have at least one on your team, if not more. And then the sharpshooting point forward just stretches the floor, acts as a secondary playmaker. If you choose to go the route of a sharpshooting and more offensive focused point guard, you can still have someone with dimer. Gold dimer is must-have, as well as, I won't say Hall of Fame is a must-have, but having to play it with at least gold dimer is pretty much a must-have to have. Make sure your shooter's more consistent, make your finishers more consistent. And then a slashing sharpshooter, just offensively gifted player and well-rounded. You're able to attack inside and out, which is another thing because you'll be able to run down in transition and still be able to hit that open three, even if some of those contested. Next up, power forward position. The best power forward position to me, well, my opinion would be probably that Kevin Love type build, a rebounding sharpshooter. Rebounding, if you're gonna have shooters around the court, you're gonna pretty much need a rebounder on your team. I won't say a pure rebounder at the power forward position because of the spacing issue. In the pro, you really want as many guys be able to hit those open threes as you can, and those open corner threes you won't be able to hit with those low-rated shooters anymore. So rebounding sharpshooter definitely looks very nice. Or you can just go the route of a pure sharpshooter too. You lose the rebounding, but you do get better shooting stats. And then we have the rebounding defender. Again, your defense is going to be really important this year in the game. I feel based on the attributes and just how the averages are handled this year, being a rebounder, if you're going to have a dual archetype, rebounder would have to be the secondary. In my opinion, the rebounding as a primary, then defense as a secondary isn't as good as the defense with the rebounding as a secondary, just based on attributes and badges. And then you want that extra speed so you can keep up on the court so you don't get lost in a fast break. And then, of course, pure lockdown again, and a rebounding athlete finisher. Again, just the speed, having the ability to rebound, and the defense being key this year. And last, but definitely not least, we got the centers, probably the second most important. First off, we got the defensive rebounder. Like I just said, defense being a key. You can go primary rebounding. I would go against it. But if you're gonna have all shooters, you might want the most rebound stats you can, and hustle rebounder badge. I'm pretty sure they still get a Hall of Fame. That's a must. And then I'm not sure, but I think they still get brick wall too. You're gonna set screens, playmake is pretty nice to have. Really nice with pick and roll maestro. You know this from last year. That won't change. Next, a pretty unique build that I'm probably gonna try out because it looks fun, looks effective as well, is the sharpshooting post scorer. Anyone who's played against or played as a good post scorer knows that the post is one of the most dominant forms of scoring in 2K. And it's never passed because nobody ever cares about it. It's probably a minority position to be used, archetype to be used, but it's very much dominant, very great to use, gets the job done, no matter how you want to look at it. And then adding the sharpshooting aspect to it, being able to also hit those corner threes. Your three ball probably won't be in the 80s. You'll probably get your three ball up to about 70s, 75. That's Michael Wing said 30% on open. But remember, 2K isn't just focused on open shots. They have open and wide open shots now. You'll definitely hit those wide open shots at a nice clip, especially if you're getting passes off a dimer. Just being able to attack the offense inside and out. It's really nice for your team, man. It's probably one of the more skilled archetypes to use because not everyone knows all the post moves. They just want to post fade, the post spin, but the drop step. If you played last year, you know the drop step cheese, and that's pretty OP. Then of course, again, pretty sharpshooter. Stretch bigs will still be pretty good at the game as long as you have a high height and you're tall. You're gonna get rebounds. You're gonna be good on defense. The only issue I can see with this build is maybe the athleticism, but again, you're guarding other centers. You shouldn't have to worry too much about running up and down the court and letting your man beat you to the spot because they're not going to be dribbling too much, so you don't have to worry about that. And then a rebounding athletic finisher. Again, a pretty nice build, being able to, get those posters. It's probably the best rebounding build because of how high the vertical is. So I would probably go with this over a pure rebounding build. I probably wouldn't make a pure rebounding center if I was planning on making one. I'd probably go with the rebounding athletic finisher or a rebounding defensive type player. And then last we got the defensive athletic finisher. Kind of just wanted to get to 5, but this is the most athletic big build that you can have in a game. A defensive athletic finisher, fastest big. Defense, of course, very important this year, with everybody's stats being a little bit better than the dual archetypes. Again, most guys are probably going to lean towards those offensive builds, so it just helps having that extra defender on your team. I think the finisher easily able to dominate the paint. I probably advise against it because you won't get as many of those poster dunks when you're going up against guys your same size. But they do trigger, and when they do trigger, it is very nasty, very fun. So next, we're going to head on to what I believe are the ideal lineups for the Pro. These, not all of them, but these are just 2 examples that I came up with. At point guard, you have a defensive playmaker. Shooting guard, a pure sharpshooter. Small forward, defensive sharpshooter. Power forward, a rebounding stretch. And then at center, you have a sharpshooting post scorer. This is one of the better offenses I see, as you have that potential to go 5 out at times, depending on the situation. You get pretty decent shooting all around your team. And then even if you don't have to go that way, you have defenders on your team. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue. If they have another team going off on one of your guys, you can just switch the matchups. And then of course you got your rebounder, power forward, able to stretch the floor, grab rebounds inside, get those offensive rebounds when he's not the one shooting. Then you have your post scorer down low. He can work the inside if the opposing center doesn't really know how to play against the post. If he has a smaller defender on him, he can go inside, but also being able to bring that other opposing big outside. Make room for your playmaker to drive and kick. Pretty sound offensive scheme. Definitely would try it out. Then on the next, we have a pure playmaker, a defensive sharpshooter, a pure lockdown defender, or a defensive slasher, and then a rebounding stretch on both the power forward and center. Again, just to grab those rebounds. And then the defensive slasher, if you would like somebody to be able to drive inside, is with both the bigs being able to come out and be more so focused on the outside. A defensive slasher or a lockdown defender would definitely be able to help you still be able to get those dunks inside, those backdoor cuts. And then he also help with rebounding, and your defensive sharpshooter just there to pick up the slack since you're going pure playmaker. And then you shouldn't have to worry about either. You have 3 sharpshooters still on your team, and then with Hall of Fame Dimer from your pure playmaker, those guys should shoot lights out. And then your slashing defender or pure lockdown will also be able to get those easy cuts in the basket.